Hello, dreamers and thinkers, and welcome back to another episode of Undone. On today's episode, I am joined by my very amazing friend, Jatz. And yes, I use the word amazing to describe all my friends because that is what I believe they are. But on today's episode, Jatz and I discuss her journey with mental health and eating disorders. Due to the nature of the content that will be in this conversation, if you feel like it will be too much for you, will not be insulted whatsoever if you choose not to listen from here on in. And for those of you who feel like you may be struggling with mental health or body image, please use the resources that we have available to us. These are just a few to name in Australia. We have Beyond Blue, we have Lifeline, we have Men's Line Australia, we have a few helplines as well. The Butterfly Foundation has a helpline, Blue Knot Foundation has a helpline, Beyond Blue also has a helpline. You can also go to your GP and just explain your situation, and they can find a way to get you access they will do what's called a mental health plan, and that gives you access to, I think, maybe 10 psychology sessions that are either at a discounted price or for free. But yeah, please don't feel like you have to suffer alone. Reach out to those around you. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hi, friend. I'm so excited to finally have you on the podcast. If you would like to introduce yourself, tell the peeps a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm Jatz. I'm 26. I am Thai born and Australian raised.
Yep.
I am also a trainee perfusionist here in Melbourne. And yeah.
In this podcast, we will be discussing mental health and healing and what that looks like in the context of, is the right word ethnic, like an ethnic home? How do you say it? Yeah, in the context of an ethnic home, because I feel like what we have learned from discussing is that our cultures are very similar, in the sense that mental health looks one way, which is psychosis. Everything that's manic psychosis, they understand that. Anything outside of that is like, what do you mean? Just you change your thoughts.
It's just normal emotions, just change your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess tell us a little bit about what your story with mental health has looked like.
All right. So my story of mental health, I grew up, I was a very confident and outgoing, outspoken child and teenager. I did start having a pretty disordered eating pattern quite young, I'd say from 9 or 10. So in our culture, it's quite highly praised to be thin, pale, more Western looking, I'd say.
Which is crazy because in African culture, it's the opposite. It's like you want to be thicker. You want the booty, the thighs, like...
You want to be thick with the C.
Exactly. I mean, I guess the skin thin is still a thing. So like body-wise, it's like, yes, you want that like more typical, I don't know, in quotation marks, African look, but then like you want to be light, like you want lighter skin, like white.
So I grew up in that culture, and that's it. And also in our culture, I don't know if it's similar to yours, people are quite open about just coming up to you and going, oh, you're a little bit chubby. Let's, people you don't know, salespeople, like your neighbors, like anyone can come out of you, and it's not considered rude. So anyone can come up and say, oh, we're getting a little bit on the heavy side now.
Except it's a compliment in the reverse. Like I've been seeing this meme and it's talking about how like you get those aunties who are like, wow, look at you, you're getting it, you're getting thicker, and they're thinking they're giving you a compliment, and you're like, It's like for someone like me who's just tall and naturally like on the slimmer side, when I go to Zimbabwe, it's like, you don't eat enough, you need to be eating more, look how skinny you are. And I'm like, guys.
I remember so clearly I was 10. I was 10 years old, my first time back in Thailand with my parents, and we had gone to this market and I was trying on jeans, and the sales lady said, "Oh, you're so beautiful if you'd just lose like 10 kilos."
What?
I was 10. And that really, I think like that really, just things like, but it wasn't just like that one time thing. It was a normal thing for me to hear growing up, which was, I think being so young, I didn't realize how much it impacted me and the way I viewed myself, or even how I viewed others. Like for a long time, I couldn't see beauty in other people because of their size. Because that's how I was just so conditioned. It was like as soon as you were big, you just didn't have any beautiful qualities within you anymore.
That's so interesting. I feel like that's a thing that we never speak about, is how your condition to view yourself affects the way you view other people and are able to love them. Like, this is like, I don't know if this would be on a smaller scale, but it was only as I got older that I came to realize that for a bit there, when I was like still in primary school, I probably didn't look at Black women and think, wow, they're beautiful.
Right.
Because that wasn't what I had been, not that it had been like intentional propaganda, but like just from everything I was consuming from the outside, I hadn't, like, it just didn't, I was like, I don't think I believed it. And then when I got older, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And this would be like, around the same age, around 10, where it's like, I would look at Black women and I'm like, oh, like, there's a Black woman. Like, I didn't think she was ugly, but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, heart eyes kind of thing.
Right. So that was, And also, like, I'm the first child, and we immigrated to Australia when I was 7. So I had a lot of responsibilities to take care of my younger brother, to be the perfect child, so that my parents didn't have anything else to stress about. So now I am a type A perfectionist by age 10. There was nothing I could do that was wrong. I was above average. I was the perfect child. But internally I think, looking back now, I did struggle, because when I would go through bouts of not eating, I remember it started with not having breakfast. I'd skip breakfast every day.
Yeah.
So, and that was just like, oh, I'm not hungry. It's fine. And then it'd be lunch. I'd like hide my lunch and like throw it away or give it to someone at school. And then from then I'd skip a couple of dinners, and it'd always be around a time where I was stressed. So if I, wasn't doing well in a sporting event, or if I, just or things at home, or if I felt like I wasn't taking care of my brother, anything like that would really make me go through that. But it didn't really, it would never last more than 2 days, those kind of things. So I never really eventuated to anything. And it wasn't until I finished high school, I didn't get into the course that I wanted. I went from being, pretty high achieving to really, really lost. And I'd gotten into a toxic relationship. I started to fail uni, and people think, like, when I say I failed uni, people think it's just like, oh, a test here and there. No, I bombed uni, like 13 subjects, full subjects that I repeated.
I'm like, it's like, we can laugh about it now, but how Jatz and I met is that we were doing the same course, and she had been studying. So I did the 4-year version of our degree, and she did the 3-year version. And she had been there.
My 3rd time taking this class.
Like, the friendship really got cemented, because we were like to her, no, sweetheart, we are not going to watch you fail this subject again. Come to the library with us for studying. Give us your phone. And that was when it was like, oh, we're friends. Like, this is the friendship we're looking at for each other. Like, this is what this is.
So I didn't know who it was. I went from, being perfect, this outgoing, confident young lady that knew what she wanted out of life, to, I maybe can't get what I want out of life because I'm failing. So now I've lost complete control of myself. I felt like I couldn't get a grasp on anything.
Yeah.
Not even reality at that point. Like, I was just so lost. And that was when it got really, really bad, to cope with the stress of uni, and the relationship had isolated me from my family and my friends.
Yeah.
So I just lost weight, like a lot of weight. The lowest I got to, my magic number, if anyone has ever had an eating disorder, they could probably relate to this. The magic number was 38 kilos.
What?
Yeah, and to give context, now I'm 60 kilos. So I was 38 kilos.
I mean, okay, to provide proper context, you're like 5 foot.
I'm 5'1".
Oh, you're 5'1". Wow, I really gave you an extra 4 inches.
Oh, you? 5'1". I'm 5'1" and very curvy.
Oh my gosh, 38 kg.
Yeah, I was 38 kilos, and all my hair had started to fall out. I was so malnourished that I just was always covered in bruises, because if I bumped into anyone, I'd just have bruises. I didn't sleep very well. I suffered from sleep paralysis really badly. And I was literally surviving off apple juice and Red Bull. So I would always have those in my car, just like the poppers of apple juice and Red Bull. That's all I'd have.
Why that combination?
Apple juice had a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
And when you don't eat for a long period of time, you crave sugar, because that's what your body wants. That's what it can use up quite quickly. And it also would settle my stomach. Really, really strange. And Red Bull, because I just had to keep going. I was still trying to do full-time uni. I was still trying to work every day. It was that's just what I came up with. Everyone, so I only survive on those. And I was obsessively weighing myself. So to this day, I'm not allowed to have a scale in my house. Yeah. Or if I do get weighed, I don't look at it. The only reason I know is I'm 60 is because I did a workout challenge. But I was weighing myself. I could tell you, if I was home all day, I'd probably weigh myself every 5 minutes.
Wow.
I would try to control to the point, to the gram. How people are 50.4 kilos. Yeah, I try to control that 0.4.
Oh my goodness. So was it a matter of you felt like your weight was the only thing that you could control? You lost control of everything else, and all you could control was how you looked.
Yeah, but I didn't even know that it was about control. I didn't realize that until I started recovery.
Yeah.
I just knew that it made me feel better. It was being hungry, feeling that burning, starving feeling in your stomach that usually makes people are like, oh, I'm hangry. That hangry feeling that makes people really angry. Yeah. No, that was a high to me. I felt like I was accomplishing something. I rewarded myself. I'd say to myself, my head would just say, look at how good you're doing. Look at you today. You didn't. Wow. Yeah. It was positive reinforcement for doing something so simple, which was not eating.
And so was what led to you deciding to get help in the midst of all of this?
There was actually someone in my life that I felt they needed to get help.
Yeah.
And they were really resistant to it. And just to kind of like be an example and to also prove a point, I was like, oh, I'll go first. I'll let you know how it goes. So really, I saved my own life trying to save someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, oh my goodness, that is the epitome of setting yourself on fire to keep someone warm. Like, and it's not even that it comes out, like, it's just, you have such a big heart and you want to love on people and you want to help people. And if the wrong people get a hold of that, they can just take advantage.
Yeah. Because like, I just think like, I think I found my purpose quite young.
Yeah.
Because like, as soon as I, remember, was like, I just want to help people. That's all I ever want to achieve in life. And so this is where we're at.
Yeah, it looks different. It comes out in different ways.
So I actually, went in for my first appointment, and I was like, explain my situation. And the psychologist was like, oh, okay. Like, I think he kind of worked it out quite quickly. And I went in, and I was what he called in denial, and I was in denial for a long time because I think for several sessions I kept saying, fine, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm fine, it's all good. So that was, I was in denial for a long time, but he actually very gently said, I think we need to get you to a GP.
Yeah.
And I think we need to get you diagnosed. And I was like, diagnosed with what? I'm fine.
Listen, I'm fine. I don't need no diagnosis.
Fine. Right. So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyways, he made an appointment.
Do you feel that part of that was because a diagnosis would mean that this, like, you'd be given a label you don't want to take on? Or do you feel that was the part of you that was like, no, we get physically sick in my house and in my culture. We don't get we don't get mentally sick.
No, but that's the thing. I didn't even understand I genuinely, with every being in myself, like, I believed that I was fine because my body wasn't hurting. It wasn't like I had chest pains or just things like that. I wasn't ill. I looked fine. Well, I thought I looked fine. I looked fine. I felt fine. There was nothing that could possibly be wrong with me. And so he actually made an appointment for the GP for me.
Yeah.
And I went in and I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa, depression and anxiety. So that's really where my journey began. And from then I had to tell my parents, my,
very high parents.
Traditional parents, which is another start in the healing journey. I think that was a big one.
Yeah. So before we move on, what did hearing that diagnosis mean / do for you before you even ever had to share it with anyone else?
One, I actually wasn't that surprised.
You're like, oh, that makes sense.
I actually had a really great GP, and we kind of I think because she could kind of read my personality, she kind of knew I had to kind of make light of the situation to kind of cope with it. So, I remember sitting there, hearing the diagnosis, and she goes, oh, it's always the young, middle-class, intelligent girls go through this, so it's okay, you're not alone. And I was like, oh, okay.
Thanks. Oh my God.
But it, just a disclaimer, it's not just the young, middle-class, intelligent girls that go through this. A lot of people go through it. But I remember
obviously in that moment, your GP was playing on the relationship that she had with you to be able to make you feel comfortable with the diagnosis she'd given you.
Yeah, we had we had a good relationship. We had a laugh, and she was part of my recovery team for 3-4 years, and it was Anyway, so I remember sitting there having a bit of a laugh, and I remember getting into my car sitting there and going, like, sheer panic of going, I just went from high achieving student in high school to lost and confused uni student, but it's okay, she's going through a phase, she's young, to having these labels attached to me. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, am I going to be these labels for the rest of my life?
I love that. Is that where you found your, like, I want to say drive, but like energy, passion, I don't know, to go on this journey then? Was that deciding that I will not let these labels define who I am?
No, because I was still in denial, straight up. I was in denial for a
She
really long
said
time.
no.
No, that is a straight up no.
So, okay. What did having to carry those labels around feel like prior to walking it out?
It was heavy, but it was also something I could hide quite well.
Yeah.
I also didn't know how or when to share it with people, with old friends and new friends. Like, you know, you're at that phase in your life. I was 19, 20. You know, typically going through that phase in your life, you lose friends, you gain friends, you discover your passion. You know, you're building yourself at that age, and that's when you're meeting so many different people. And I just remember, like, are they gonna know? Like, are they gonna know that I just remember, like, oh my God, they're gonna meet me and automatically know that I have all these issues and they won't want to be friends with me. Like, in my head, it was like, who would want to be friends with someone carrying so much? Like, it was baggage to me, but it was baggage that I didn't want to check in. I was carrying someone else's baggage. Someone that decided to be like, oh, you know how you go to the airport and your parents overpacked for the relatives and they're like, put this in your bag, put this in your bag. Your bag only has 10 kilos. That's what I felt like, because I wasn't ready to take on the labels.
Yeah.
So it was hard to navigate that. So I think I had to hide it for a while. And then when I started to lose friends, I was really conscious of it.
Okay, so were you losing friends because that's just what happens as a young adult? Or were you losing friends because people felt like being your friend was becoming too hard?
I think it was the second.
Wow.
Yeah.
In hindsight, do you blame them?
No, definitely not. I think we're all out here trying our best with what we've got. And it's a lot to try and be there for someone who didn't know how they wanted someone else to be there for them.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how, you know, here I am, like, at the lowest point in my life. I didn't care if I wasn't suicidal, but I didn't care if I lived.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, I just didn't care. Like, I was careless. I was reckless. It was whatever. I don't care if, I don't care if lightning struck me tomorrow. That's what my mind was. And how do you as an, 19, 20-year-old, like, navigate that for a friend? Like, that's heavy. That's not someone else's responsibility. And I would never, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And I completely understand. And I think I needed to work out how I wanted my journey to go first. Like, at that point, I still hadn't accepted it, but I was kind of like 1 foot in and then I'll take 1 foot out.
Yeah. So, whilst we're still on this point, what would you say to someone who has a friend who is going through something like this and they just don't know how to be there, how to help, what to say, what to do?
I think the biggest thing for me was knowing that they were just going to be there, like their presence. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, what can I do for you? How can I talk to you? It wasn't even that. It was like simple messages of saying, hey, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm praying for you. Just little things to know that if I wanted, they were there.
Yeah.
Like if I was ready to reach out with my hand, their hand was there.
Yeah.
It's more than it's letting them know that your presence is always going to be there rather than actually having to do something. Because at the end of the day, with things like mental health, they have to take that first step into accepting.
Yeah, 100%.
And until that, it's really hard to help them. It's really hard to navigate. But I think for me, what really helped was friends that said, okay, well, that doesn't change you. You might not know what you want to do right now or how you want me to help, but I'm here. I'm just chilling.
Still here. Yeah.
I'm still here. Like I'm going to be here chilling. And when you're ready, we can do this.
Yeah. So what did your healing journey look like then? Because up until this point, you were in denial, even with the diagnosis.
Yeah, I was in denial for a really long time. I was good. Like I still went to my therapy sessions. And anyways, so the healing journey started with trying to find me a psychologist. Well, it was the diagnosis. And then it was like, okay, do we medicate you? Do we do a combination of medication and therapy? Do we just do therapy? What's your recovery team going to look like? All of this it was a lot more than what I was ready for.
Like it was really intense because for some people, like it can look different for everyone, but for some people, it's enough to just have like a psychologist. Like that would be enough for their healing journey. For some people, it's enough 100%. To get a prescription and a psychologist, or just a prescription, and that's enough. But you had like a whole team, and so
I had a whole team because I'll say it straight because I have enough self-awareness. I was a real brat about the whole thing.
You're still a real brat, but good ways.
I was a really sneaky brat of a patient. So my GP wanted to send me to a psychiatrist so they could really work out what I needed, what would be best for me, even if I didn't think it was best for myself. So he decided that the psychiatrist decided like, let's try therapy. I think it'd really do you some good. Let's take that first step. So I was bouncing around psychologists for a good year and a half.
Oh my goodness.
Almost 2 years. I'd like go to one and be like, ugh, and then disappear for like 3 weeks, and then my GP would call me back and say, what are you doing? And I'd be like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'd play real coy. And anyways, I finally found one. So at this point we had a GP, psychiatrist, psychologist, and a dietitian.
Yeah.
So I would have to go into my GP every 2 weeks to get an ECG done and to get everything else checked out. So anyways, we finally found a psychologist that I clicked with, and that was where really the challenge really began, because she
Can we just talk about how it's important to find a psychologist that you click with? Like if you were looking for a psychologist, it is okay to keep looking until you find someone you click with. Otherwise, you're just not going to take anything that they say.
Yeah.
And that is not beneficial whatsoever.
Like you're just wasting your time at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just going to have really expensive conversations, really.
Yeah. Like, go buy yourself a pair of shoes. Like, that's probably better therapy at this
probably
point.
Be cheaper, literally.
Someone that you don't click with. Yeah. I used to feel really, really bad, like, about, like, not clicking with people because I felt like it was my fault.
Oh, my God. No.
So it took us a long time. Like I remember I went to the psychologist and like nothing he said resonated with me at all, And I went for a good 6 months.
Oh my God.
Then, yeah, I really tried. And then I was like, I can't anymore. And then that was when we like finally found one that I clicked with.
Yeah.
Because my GP said, it's okay. Like, they're not gonna like hunt you down or anything. It's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was when it really began, because like it wasn't just about like, hey, let's just like talk about why you don't eat. It was like, let's work out what your core values and beliefs about yourself are, or like about yourself is. And it was like doing a lot of cognitive behavior therapy. It was doing a lot of self-awareness. It was sitting down and writing out a lot of things that I believed about myself. And the hardest part in that, and it's still something that's really, really hard for me, is that I don't know if I could ever trust my own eyes. Because during that whole thing, I had body dysmorphia. Like I looked in the mirror and I thought I was like
I look fine.
No, I thought I looked enormous.
Oh, like
But I was like, I look back at the pictures now. I remember people taking pictures of me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you can't ever post stuff like that. Like my arms look huge. And I look back now, my arms are like literally twigs. Like, but my eyes couldn't see that. Like my brain couldn't see that. So the hardest part was learning that I couldn't trust myself and trust my own eyes. And to this day, I still question what I see.
Yeah. But
I'm almost, is it real? Like, you know what I mean?
Now, do you say that you, like, having to walk that out, you built confidence to trust yourself more? Or is it a combination of the confidence to trust yourself more and the people around you to be like, hey, no, that's not what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's definitely a combination, because I was just thinking, like, when did my journey really begin? Like the real was when I met the psychologist and I started working on that. I met you guys. And and then you guys, my life has known no peace.
She means that in the best way possible. We got it from this meme where it's like, my life has known no peace since you came into it.
I've not had a restful night of sleep since they've come into my life.
Lies.
So, I remember meeting you guys. Like, I remember the exact day I met you. We'd probably been in a class for like, it was a whole semester, I didn't speak to anyone because I was still like pretty recluse to myself.
Yeah.
And I'm quite extroverted, but I was really, really quiet in those days. And because I was on the opposite team to me, because we were having a debate.
Okay, pause. This was anatomy and physiology. So the debate makes sense in the context of that class. Go.
Yeah, debate. Sorry. So we're having debate. I meant to like go after Kudzai said her piece, and I go, okay. So Kudzai had gotten up there and she was just this sassy, bright aura of a thing, and I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna follow that up, because my teammate actually were really nervous for me to get up because I didn't rock up early to like talk to them through. I actually rocked up just before class and I was like, I got this, don't worry guys, don't worry.
I got this in the bag, we're gonna win.
And then I was like, dang, I'm gonna have to follow that up. It was lucky for me because like I had the easier topic, I'd say. So I got up and I don't know what happened, but my sass just unleashed.
It came out, and I remember taking note of you for the first time since that class had started. Like, I'd seen you, and I was like, oh, she's so pretty. But, like, that was it. You just seemed really quiet, and I make it a point to not, like, introduce myself to people who I feel like I'd overwhelm. Like, that is the thing in my life. If I look at you and I'm like, ooh, I would overwhelm you, I don't even introduce myself. I'm like, it's fine. I can, like, love you from a distance. But when your sass came out, I was like, oh my God, no, let's get it.
And then, we basically became friends and we started studying together. But I remember meeting you guys, and when we started studying better, I remember the first time you said to me, like, oh no, Jatz, we're not doing this anymore. We're not failing another class, because now you know better, you do better. And that is a quote
to
that
this
I
day.
literally say to myself every day. Jatz, don't do this. Now you know better. You do better. Come on, let's break the cycle.
I'd like to say I have a filter, but I don't. So I genuinely would have said it in that tone with those words. Like, and we would have been like a week into knowing each other.
Yeah. It was biochemistry class. It was a fresh semester. And she goes, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. You failed too many times. We're not doing this again.
No, I think it was just because, like, watching you do that debate, I saw a different side of you to what you had been previously showing. And so to watch you kind of be like your own worst enemy in that sense, I was like, no, honey, I don't know who's been in your life prior to this, but this is now what we're doing. You better get up and fight. Like, no.
And then I remember I just had so much laughs with you guys, but I was so challenged. Like, I was laughing through my tears because I was constantly being challenged.
Yeah. Okay, so who she's speaking of is me, our friend Helen, and our friend Chloe. I don't know what she likes to be called. Chloe, you am right? I don't know. They're both out there now. So the nicest person you have to admit would be Helen. Helen would have been the nicest to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't as attacking.
Yeah. Whereas Chloe and I are like no filter as it is. Like, say it how it is.
I'd do something and they'd be like, but why?
Oh, yeah. Look, yeah. Self-awareness. We really rate it.
Yeah. And I was just like, no one had ever asked me that before. I didn't have friends that were like, but why? And all of a sudden I had friends that were like, well, now, like, you knew that was going to be the consequence, so why did you do it?
And she was like, wait,
yeah,
what?
and,
You're holding me accountable? What is this?
Yeah, I had to be accountable. And I had you guys, and my parents had actually come around to therapy. So so at first they didn't actually want me to go to therapy. They thought it was actually going to make me worse.
Yeah. Why do you think that was? Like, what is it, like a cultural thing, or is it just like...
It's a cultural thing. I think it's just not being aware. I don't want to say ignorance, but it's just like they weren't educated with that, if that makes sense. And it's not an awareness in their culture or in our culture.
Was it like you're telling someone else, like, family business? Like, how is that going to help you in any way, shape or form, kind of thing?
Yeah, like, I remember going through all of this. They didn't even tell, like, my own family.
And that concludes this episode. I first of all just want to acknowledge the humility and bravery and vulnerability that it took for Jatz to share her story and to be so candid about it. If you loved this conversation, please go flood her DMs and tell her what your favorite parts were. And so you guys will have to tune in next week for the second part of this conversation. See you then. Bye.